Are you ready to hear something you never heard before?
Computer God containment policy, top secret. Eventual brain lobotomization of the entire world population for the worldwide deadly gangster communist computer god overall plan. An ideal worldwide population of light skin, low, hopeless and helpless, few mulattoes, the communist black wave of the
A musician who died in 2021, resurrected as a piece of brain matter. They titled this project, I'm guessing it's students, Revivification. Revivification? Wow. Original? Revive. Vacation. Okay. Insanely, obviously, raises the question with a very literal interpretation of impulse. Okay, what does that mean? Using his DNA, these weirdos? I'm joking. The team behind the project. At the end of the article, well, you're actually going to find out who the real weirdo is at the end of the article, because that's going to blow your mind. Well, his mind's already been blown. Yours is just waiting to be. So basically, they perform they call it a quasi-resurrection. Not quite Christ-like, but lifelike. And an experimental American composer named Alvin Lucier. His last name looks a little suspicious. His name's spelled Alvin, like from the Chipmunks, Lucier, Lucier. They created the team, that is, a sort of brain that continuously composes music on the fly, like making things up as if they're alive, continuously doing it without stopping. Wow. Using electric signals from this brain they grew from the Revivification project. Now they're attempting to shine light, ironic, on the sometimes dark, ironic, possibilities of extending a person's presence beyond the finality of death, ironic. Which would not necessarily, because in order to be an actual sentient being that's a person fully capable of conscious decision making, you would have to have individual biological parts come together, enough of them, to create that human. In this case, this is just a brain, just sitting on a petri dish somewhere in a classroom. So you can't necessarily say you're bringing the artist back to life, but you can say you're bringing the artist's music back to life in a whole new way. The team, comprising of 3 artists and a neuroscientist, sounds like a band of the century. Yeah, we got 3 artists and a neuroscientist. Yeah, a neuroscientist on the science. I like that. You can get it. I like that. You can get crazy with that. Apparently, at the center of the piece, they call it a vitro brain, grown from blood, that Lucier passed away in 2021. Recently dead. There's no time beyond the grave, so he's dead. 3 years ago that he passed away. Before he passed away, he was like, take my brain, take my blood, and use it, and carry me through the legacy of symphony. Wow. They grew the brain from the blood on top of an electrode mesh that connects to 20 large brass plates placed around the room. So visitors can listen to the brain as the brain fires off electrical signals that trigger a transducer and a mallet behind each plate, and it strikes them, making a produced sound. Wow. Whoa. That's wild. You're crossing a threshold. Well, yeah. Life and death. Thin line. So basically, Nathan Thompson, an artist and the creator of the project, look at Nathan, bringing people back to life in a whole new way. Told The Guardian in a recent interview, you're peering down into an abyss and you're looking at something that's alive, just not in the same way as you. Hit it on the nose with that, Nathan, your life resurrector, to create the mini brain. The mini brain. What is there, a major brain? Where's that? Researchers at Harvard Medical School use Lucier's white blood cells to derive stem cells. They're trying to take it there. The foundational building blocks of the body, which possesses the ability to develop into any type of cell or tissue, such as that belonging to a particular organ. In this case, the brain. For the project, the team chose to use they chose to program the stem cells to grow into the cerebral organoids. So resembling the cells of a developing human brain. They cloned it to the realest kind of brain that they can make without it being a brain as part of a human body. So it can be something that's efficient enough to produce music in the same way, but different. That's what they're meaning to say. It's basically a brain that just does stuff. It's like an app, but it's not an app. It's a brain. It's a brain app with one program. In this case, it's actually a brain that does one thing, makes music. So it only has so many capabilities because there's no reasoning, there's no logic, there's no emotion, there's no thinking. It's just functioning to the electrical signals and sending them out through the speakers. People can hear what's going on as that brain is braining. It's braining itself. But the brain is braining because it's certainly not being a person peopling. Brain just conducting music hooked up to speakers, and that'll probably mean it can do it forever. So the central question is, we want people to ask, or they want people to ask, does memory persist through the biological transformation? And I believe it does, because there's vibrations in the air from when time first started. Energy doesn't die. It gets transmuted and takes a different form. So if you were to possibly maybe be able to pick up sounds with some kind of machine in a very ancient location where the energy has not had a chance to dissipate in that area, you would probably be able to pick up the audio version of whatever used to take place there as far as noise. Maybe not the memory itself, but the remnants of the memory can possibly be shattered pieces of reality that you can possibly weave back together to make some kind of consistent narration. That's what I'm assuming. Let's get back to this article. The innovation, they started with the innovation of brainwaves to create live music. They attach electrodes to his head to pick up brain signals, amplified through a loudspeaker. Here's the funny thing. He has a daughter. They told his daughter about this project and what was happening, and she laughed. I'm like, wow. She has a sense of humor. And she says, this is so my dad. Oh yeah, your dad said he told you jokingly he wanted to have scientists in Australia be able to grow a brain in a petri dish of some sort and be able to play music through the speakers as he's deceased. Who thinks of that? But hey, maybe I want the same thing. She said, this is so my dad. He died and arranged for himself to play forever. He just can't go. He needs to keep playing. Brain, plop of brain, sitting there and just conducting away. I wonder, you know what they want to know? What the scientists are trying to ask? If there's any part of him that used to be conscious, they're playing music with it. That's what they're really asking. And if so, who gets royalties for this? This is a whole nother realm. His daughter should not be laughing. She should be a little more concerned and ask, the music that's being produced 24/7 by that brain that's constantly making music. See, if the brain is not just making music, remember, the brain is making music as if it's him still alive making new music. So the new music that it's making sounds like something that he would make as compared to his works that are out. So it sounds like him because it is him. So they're probably, it's hard to describe this stuff when it's so new, so human, so complicated, but yet so simple, but giving out this information so you understand it well enough. There's this thing called semantic calculus, and you have the ability to predict what someone can say if you have enough information about them in data formats to be able to predict that in certain contexts. So they're probably able to arrange this brain in a way to where it's not only firing off electrical signals and patterns that make a coherent sound of music, but in a way to where taking his previous work and going off of those variable nuances and branching off from those nuances to make new kinds of work from the previous work that were examples to begin with. Either way you look at it, it's him still making music. Whether it's a remix, derivative, or interpolation, or anything, it's still him able to make music. So that means he should be getting royalties, but he's not a person. It's his likeness, it's his image, it's his copyright. That means that the daughter should be getting royalties from the music that's being played and made from that brain. Because when the artists pass, the royalties, they go to the estate of the musician, which is usually owned by the child. So she should be getting some of that money. And they have people coming in, listening to it every day. That's a public performance. So you get paid through ASCAP and BMI, another type of royalty that can be produced. And I know it's kind of weird to talk about this, but it's really not business at the end of the day. You're dealing with sounds, you're dealing with copyright, you're dealing with likenesses. It's just something that we don't talk about. Yeah, you're a big old piece of brain, or a mini brain, they call it, sitting somewhere making music. But that brain making music is still able to be making money. And that money can be going to the person that's in charge of that artist's estate. You telling me this damn musician, we gotta be smarter as musicians. This musician wants to set his brain up to make music forever, but not set your daughter up to benefit by having royalties from the music that your brain is making be passed down to your alive daughter when you're dead? She said, this is so my dad. He died and arranged for himself to play forever. He just can't go.